some people say we're in a new civil rights era, but do you think that's right? Do you think we are?
In the new civil rights era, well, it's different. It's different. Even here in Nashville, during the sit-ins, when they were throwing sit-inners over the lunch counters and throwing water and ice cream and what have you on them, we did not fight back, but we were the ones that were arrested. So it's just a little bit different. April 19, 1960, we had over 5,000 students to march. The march started at Tennessee State, came straight out Jefferson Street, I think, to 4th Avenue and up to the courthouse. But that was a silent march. You couldn't even talk to the person next to you. And I'm reminded of a Bible scripture where there were 3 or 4 men who had leprosy, and they could not get into the city. And so they decided that there was an army out in the desert. We'll go to the army, and at least they will feed us before they kill us. And but what happened was their footsteps were heard by the army, which was a couple of miles away, and they thought that there were thousands of soldiers coming to advance on the army while they were camped out, and so that army ran. And so we had the idea that we wanted Nashville to hear footsteps and not voices. And that was the same day that Mayor Ben West said that he didn't think it was fair that people can go downtown and shop and not be able to eat at the lunch counters. See, so it's you can do things without violence and succeed in them. Yeah.
I know you travel a lot and talk to different groups, I guess universities and even down to elementary school.
Oh, yes.
I suppose. And is there any message that you try to leave everybody with, or is there any overall thing you're trying to
Well,
convey?
I always ask, whether it be from elementary on up through teachers or universities, what is your passion as an individual? What is your passion? What is it that you want to do? What do you want to see change? And I always go back to Gandhi and say it only took one, because Gandhi started out by himself. Just to walk to the sea, it was all about salt. And he started out with one person, and he had millions of followers. And the same thing here, it only takes one. You find somebody that's interested in the same interest that you have, and you want to make a change, and then you work on it. And I was in Denver, Colorado, speaking to the Social Study Convention, and a lady asked me about what she has a passion, what should she do? And I said, well, you can't do it with a cell phone. See, we didn't have cell phones. I said, you can't do it with a computer, because the people can't see you. You have to be out front where they can hear you say what your project is, and that you love them, you want them to be a part of it. You can put it on a computer, you can put it on the cell phone, but they're just reading it. They don't feel it. See, we felt it because we had somebody standing in front of us talking about the injustices of what was going on, not only here in Nashville, but throughout the South and throughout the world. So you've got to be right out front and talk to people. I said there's no love in Texas. And they have all the facilities, like they have the cell phone, the computers, they have all these different things that they can use that we didn't use, but there's a time for it. But I would say when you're first starting out, it's not the time for it, cell phones and computers. No.
Who should see this film, or who do you think this kind of information is?
I think it should go out to as many people as possible. I was really surprised about the mayor. He's a Tennessee State graduate, and I've met him, talked to him several times, but when I saw his part in there, it really surprised me. But I think it's a good documentary. May 24, 1961, we just left Montgomery going to Jackson. And I always tell the young kids as well as adults, there was no such thing as interstates. It was all highway, usually two-lane highways. Leaving on the Greyhound bus that morning, as Jim Lawson said, we wanted to leave on a regular scheduled bus, but the only people on the Greyhound or Trailway were Freedom Riders. I think there were a total of 27 of us between the two buses. We did not leave at the same time. But we had National Guard on the bus with fixed bayonets, National Guards following the bus, in front of the bus, helicopters, the whole 9 yards, the sharpshooters and all. And that highway, I think it's either 80 or 82, when you're leaving Montgomery goes to Selma, Alabama. I think that would be the first stop or first pickup that they would have would be Selma, Alabama. But we bypassed Selma because we were told that there were over 3,000 Klansmen waiting for those buses in Selma, so we had to bypass that. There was no rest stop. We never made a rest stop, and we're talking two-lane highway, over 100 miles from Montgomery to Jackson. And so when we arrived in Jackson, my seatmate was Congressman Lewis. And when we got off the bus, there was also a young lady on the bus who was the head majorette of the Tennessee State Marching Band. So the three of us got off the bus and went through the front door to the lunch counter and sat down. John Lewis was arrested in the white restroom, men's restroom. Lucretia and I were arrested at the lunch counter. My mother didn't know that I was on the Freedom Ride. She didn't find out until that day. Just so happened when I was walking out of the front door to get in the paddy wagon, the news camera caught me coming out. And a lady called my mother and said, "Where's your son?" And she said, "Well, this time of day he's over at the office helping with the Freedom Riders." And the lady said, "No, honey, you need to turn on your TV. I just saw your son being arrested in Jackson, Mississippi." But the one thing about that ride that really touched me was going through these little towns and seeing sharecroppers, seeing their homes with the cook stove out on the front porch, because we're going through Alabama and Mississippi where it's real hot during the summer. So the cook stove is out on the front porch. The machine is out there. And in the downtown area where everybody knew about the Freedom Rides coming through on that particular highway, you would see mothers with their kids, little kids, and they're pointing to the bus. And what that said to me that things were going to get better. Those are the Freedom Riders, and they're going to make it better for you. And so, as we always say too, we always end up saying that what we did it for generations to come. And I always tell the kids that we did it for you because we love you. And I said, you might say, well, we weren't even born during that time, but we did it for the generations to come after us. So a lot went on in Parchman once we were transferred to Parchman Penitentiary. And from the Freedom Rides came a lot of the movements that you had after that. Voter registration in Mississippi, people going down with the teaching math to the kids, and a lot of different things. And then Freedom Riders represented 39 different cities, or 39 states. And so when they got out of Parchman, then they went back to where they came from and started their own movements and protesting and what have you.
Yeah, so yeah, a lot came out of that. That
Yes,
was like a spark.
yeah. Yes, it was a spark, yeah. And we always say if it hadn't been for Nashville, it wouldn't have happened, because CORE had ended the Freedom Rides in Birmingham, and we decided to continue the Freedom Rides. We asked for permission from Jim Farmer to allow us to continue the Freedom Rides. And he said, just like everybody else was saying, you're gonna get somebody killed. And we said, we know that, but somebody might die, but we're gonna continue this thing. So that's the way it was.
Yeah, I remember John Siegenthaler had the story about Diane Nash, and she told him, we've already made our wills.